All right, so let's go through division. Maybe a review from last year. Here today in the directions, you're going to try to find the quotient and the remainder. So those are two new words. The quotient is how many times the 4 would go into the 19 evenly. Okay, so it's the whole part of the answer. So, yeah, Nick.
How I remember it is, did mom say bacon? Divide, multiply, subtract, and add.
What did you say? Did
mom say bacon?
Did mom say bacon? I like that. Okay. Did mom say bacon? So divide. So 4 goes into 19 how many times? So 4, right? So you would, since 4 doesn't go into 1, you don't put anything above the 1. You then see if it goes into the 19. So since it goes into 19 4 times, like Nick's saying, that's the divide. And then you multiply. So you're going to take this and you're going to multiply this times this. And you get what when you multiply 4 times 4? 4 times 4. 16, right, Andy? So you're going to put 16 under the 19. Then you have to subtract. So 9 take away 6 is 3. And 1 take away 1 is 0. So once this number down here, right here, is smaller than the number here, you know you're finished. Okay, unless you're doing decimal division. Ooh, but I asked you guys just to find the quotient and the remainder. So the quotient is 4, and the remainder is 3. So usually you would write your answer as 4 with an R and then a 3. 4 remainder 3. Okay? So that's kind of elementary school review. We're going to change this to decimals today. So let's practice another problem. Let's just practice another problem. So if I go to this next problem number 2, here, I'm going to do the same process. So I'm going to do 5, see if 5 divides into 2. But it's small, it's too big. 5 is bigger than 2. So I don't put a number up here. Instead I see if 5 divides into 22. And 5 goes into 22 because if we count by 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20. How many times, Sammy? 4. So you put a 4 above the 22 over the second 2. And then you do a multiply here. So you get 20, right, Sarah? So you put a 20 here, and then you do a subtract. And when you subtract 22, take away 20, you just get 2. Now, you still have this 4 up here, so the next step is to bring the 4 down. Do you remember that from last year? So if there's numbers up here, like that 4, you have to keep going. And now we're going to see how many times the 5 go into 24. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So how many times, Cannon?
4.
Only 4, right? So we put a 4 here, and Cannon, 4 times 5 is 20. So we're going to subtract, and we get 4. So now this is smaller than the number we were dividing by. That means we stop if we're not doing decimal division. So our answer is 44, remainder 4. So the quotient is 44, remainder is 4. So can you guys try number 3 yourself? Go ahead and try that, and we'll check answers. Okay, Isabella, what did you do first? Okay.
I did, so I knew that 10 didn't go into 1.
10 doesn't go into 1. Let me make this bigger. Oops, sorry. Okay, 10 doesn't go into 1. That's correct.
So, and then I knew that 10 only goes into 15, 1.
Right, so you put a 1 here.
And then I put 10 under 15.
Because 1 times 10 is 10.
And then 15 minus 10 is 5.
Correct.
And then I dropped down 6.
That's right. Bring down the 6.
And 10 goes into 56 6 times.
How many times?
5.
5 times, right?
And I dropped down 50 because 5 times.
Yeah, so 5 times 10 is 50. That's right.
And 56 minus 50 is 6.
Correct.
And so I got that it was 50 and then I did 6.
Because the 6 is smaller than the 10, right?
Yeah.
So you know you stop. Once the number at the bottom, once your difference is smaller, you stop. So your answer is 15, remainder 6. Good. That's correct. One more. Who haven't I heard from? Let's see. Sarah, you want to do it? 3 does not go into 1.
So 3 goes into 12 4 times.
Good. Right. Good. Yes. 3 goes into 7 2 times. Correct.
7 minus 6 is
Good. So that's your remainder, right? It's your final answer?
42.
42, remainder 1. Oops. You said it right. There you go. 42, remainder 1. Okay, raise your hand if that's familiar. I do that. So let's complete the double number lines here. Okay. The first one is tenths. That's right. And how did you get that? How do you explain how to get that to kids?
I counted them and then
Count your jumps, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So as long as I have a 1 here, which I'm going to put on all of these, the first one's going to be tenths. So we'll put the fraction 1/10 here. And the decimal for tenths is what? 0.1 or 0.10. Both of those are correct. You could think of it as 0.1 or 0.10, like 10 cents. Okay. So this would be 2 tenths in decimal form. And we could keep filling this out, 3 tenths, and so on and so forth. Okay, how about the second double number line? Yeah, Eric? Okay, let's check the jumps. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifths, right, 5. It's fifths. Fourths is up there though, isn't it? So this is a fifth, 2 fifths, 3 fifths, 4 fifths. And if I think of this as a whole dollar, Eric, what's 1/5 of a dollar in money? Decimals. Divide 100 pennies into 5 parts. You want some help? Okay, Nick?
20 cents.
Okay, so Mark, how do you write that?
Wait, what?
20 cents. How do you write it as a decimal?
0.2.
Good. So this is 0.2. Eric, you remember that? So this would be what, Eric? Right. And then 0.6 and 0.8. Okay. What's the next one? Somebody else. Who haven't I heard from? Come on, you guys. New person. Jackson, what's the next fraction? Fourths. Good. So this is one. Oops. Let's get a better color. 1/4, 2/4 or a half, 3/4, and a whole. What's the decimal, Jackson, for a fourth? 0.25. For a quarter, then like 50 cents, 0.50. What about the third one? Claire? 0.75. And then the last? Keep going, Claire. Oh, well, the last is a whole. Okay, last number line. This is harder. Is it the, oh, yeah, Joe, in her please. Thirds. Does anybody know the decimal for thirds? Do you know it, Joe? What is it? 0.33333 forever, right? And we put a bar on the top for that. We'll practice more with that one, but for right now, I'm just going to write it down. Okay? So the reason we're doing that, not just to review our decimal fractions, but to change all of these answers to decimals in a really easy way. Sometimes there's an easy way to do division with decimals. So for the first problem, 19 divided by 4, I'm going to turn the page one more time. But do you guys see that we got 4 remainder 3 here? Okay, so if I move over to this page, I have the same problem right here. And for this, we got 4 remainder 3. And then for this one, just who has that one written down from the warm-up? What do we have, Isabella? 44, remainder 4. Okay. And for this one, remember what we had here. Looking at your notes. Eric? 15 remainder 6. And then Kyle, do you have the last one?
The last one?
Who had that? Kaylee?
42 remainder 1.
42 remainder 1. Okay. So there's a process that you guys can use to change these answers to decimals, which is kind of what, it's usually what most people in the world use, decimals in science. Sometimes you'll want a remainder, but a lot of times you want decimals. So if you know your remainder and you know what you were dividing by, you can change your answer for remainder 3 into fraction first. And so the fraction answer would be 4 and 3 divided by 4. And where that comes from is you take your whole number and you just leave it alone. Okay? You take your remainder right here and you put it as the top of the fraction. And then you take what you were dividing by, the number 4, and you put that as the bottom of the fraction. So let's practice that over here. So if I were going to change 44 remainder 4, what would it be, Claire? To fractions. 44. The 4 on top of the fraction. And where's that bottom number come from? Because that's what you're divided by. Okay, who can try it the next one? Somebody else. Come on, you guys. Who else hasn't volunteered? Almost everybody. You want to try, Quinn? What's the whole part on this one? 15. So this is 15, and then we're going to make a fraction part. So what was the remainder? Where does that go? In the numerator, the top, or the denominator, the bottom? The top. And then what goes on the denominator? The 10. Perfect. Okay. And then this last answer, 42 remainder 1. Okay, Sammy.
42
and 1/3. Okay. So how come I have double number lines here? How are those going to help me? Anybody know? Like, what do you think, Isabella?
So instead of doing like 1/3, you could write the decimal.
Yeah. Instead of the fraction, you can come back to your double number line and rewrite it. We're going to practice this on a worksheet in a minute, but let's look at what she's talking about. I'm going to start with an easier one. Let's look at this answer, the 4 3/4. Okay, we're going to change it to a decimal. So we're going to say 4, but we're going to look over here and look at our fourths line, and we find that 3/4 is 75 hundredths. So, Claire, what am I going to write? 4.75. And that's my final decimal answer. Okay. Raise your hand if that makes sense. Okay, so just on your whiteboards, get the decimal answer for this. And get the decimal answer for the next two. I'm not going to move some of this other stuff down. A little crowded here. For 44 4/5, and for each one of these. So what's the decimal answer for each one of these? Woo. So there's 3 things I'm asking you to get the decimal answer for. Okay, let's see, Kyle, do you have any answers? No? I'll come back to you. See if you can do that last one, Kyle. And what about Marcos? Can you do 44 4/5 for me? Which one did you do? Okay, what's 15 6/10? Tenths are right here, right? So 6/10 would be 1/10 is here, 2/10, 3/10, 4/10, 5/10, 6/10. How do we write those decimals? This is 1/10 right here, 0.1, 0.2, 0.3. What's going to be above 6/10? 0.6. Good. So this answer is, the whole thing's just 0.6. What about the whole part? You still need the 15. And then you put 0.6. So 15 6/10 as a decimal. Okay? How about the 44 4/5? Okay, Sasha.
Doesn't it go on like
It would be on this line, the 4/5, over here, right? Yeah.
which one? Oh, I thought I was doing the one below.
This one? Kyle's going to do that one. Can you do this one? Figure out 4/5
I
for me?
haven't done that one, but I'll try.
Yeah, let's try it. Because here's your double number line right here, right?
So,
It'd be what? So here's 4/5 right here. What's the decimal for that?
4.
No. 0.8. Right. So if you know those double number lines, it helps. So how do you write this as a decimal then?
44.
44.8. Perfect. Okay, Kyle.
Last one.
Uh-huh. The last one.
40.
Okay, 40. Whoops. 42. Point what? But Kyle, how do we write that?
3 is a line over it.
3 with the bar, right? But it's more fun to say 3, 3, 3, 3, 3.
I know it is.
So that's because 1/3, you guys, if you look at your double number line, is equal to 0.3 repeating. Does that make sense? We good with it? Does that make sense, guys? Raise your hand if you understand. You ready to try some? You need to practice more? That's okay. Let me pass out some problems for you. Okay, let's take a look at the sheet I just passed out for you guys to practice. Here it is. And let's make it a little bit bigger there. So hopefully you could see that these problems here, here's an example, and the example is reviewing the warm-up. So if I wanted to figure out how many times 5 goes into 16, I know it doesn't go into 1, but it does go into 16 3 times. 5 times 3 is 15, and then I did subtraction and I got 1. So another way to think of this is 16 divided by 5 is equal to 5 remainder 1. And then if we use our double number lines, we could write this in fraction form and then go to our double number line and find out that 1/5 is equal to 2/10, 0.2, and that's our final goal today. Okay, so on problem 1, it started for you, so you're just supposed to read from all the work. The division's done for you. So from all of this work here, what's the answer to 121 divided by 5? Emma?
24 remainder 1.
24 remainder 1. Now can you put that in fraction form? Quinn?
Is 24. And then the 1 on top. And then the 5.
Exactly. And then Quinn, can you look at your double number line? You know 1/5. That's even better if you guys know these by memory. What's the decimal for 1/5? Yeah, 2/10, right? So 24.2. So this is your classwork. And your homework. There's some work on the back. So the problems that I want you to do, I'm going to go ahead and okay.